The spinning wheel has been used as a symbol of time passing. But for Gandhi, it was an act of faith in the self-sufficiency of the Indian people.
And at Gandhi's suggestion, the spinning wheel found a place in the Swaraj flag, with a white, green and red background symbolizing peace, purity and the unity of all faiths in India. Thus was born a flag for the non-violent revolt in 1921, representing an ideal to live for and die for. Swaraj and Swadeshi ran parallel on Gandhi's schedule. On July 31st, he inaugurated the campaign for the boycott of foreign cloth by kindling an immense bonfire in Bombay, not out of racial hatred, but as a sign of India's determination to break with the past. To Gandhi, the outward fire was a symbol of the inner fire, which would burn up all weaknesses of the head and the heart. In burning my foreign clothes, I burn my shame, said he. It would be wrong to give this material to the poor, for the poor too have a sense of honor. The bonfire spread all over the land. Gandhi went from village to village and from town to town. Here in Madurai, he decided to discard his cap and vest, realizing that the millions were too poor to replace the discarded foreign clothes. On the morning of September 21st, his head was shaved and he wrapped a piece of khadar around his loins. Thus he resolutely took to the loincloth. Great events seemed imminent. Gandhi declared, "It is contrary to national dignity for any Indian to serve under a government which has brought about India's economic, moral and political degradation." He induced the Congress to accept the spinning franchise, making labor in the form of a contribution of self-spun yarn as an alternative to 4-anna membership. His concluding remarks were, "Satyagraha is search for truth. Like Swaraj, it is our birthright." Throughout 1925, Gandhi traveled ceaselessly to be morally prepared for future political opportunities. Fiery and passionate words flowed from him. Our ability to reach unity in diversity will be beauty and the test of our civilization. My Swaraj takes note of the weakest of the weak. It will come not by the acquisition of authority by a few, but by the acquisition by all of the capacity to resist authority when it is abused. Gandhi regarded untouchability as a fiendish sin. Anything that is prejudicial to the welfare of the nation is untouchable, but no human being can be so. The spinning wheel was presented to the nation for giving occupation to the millions who have been reduced to pauperism. Charkha is intended to realize the essential and living oneness of interest among India's myriads. It is criminal to displace the hand labor by the introduction of power-driven spindles. If India was really to prosper in her villages and not in her cities, the spinning wheel was the only instrument of its prosperity and freedom. At the news of the sudden death of Deshbandhu Chittaranjan Das, Gandhi almost broke down. India has lost a jewel, but we must regain it by gaining Swaraj. On the expiry of his presidential term, Gandhi took a vow of a year's political silence and immobility, for he believed that silence was the language of cosmic adoration. The year of silence gave Gandhi's body time to rest. He devoted more time to the inmates of his ashram and kept in touch with the people through his journals, trying to awaken and strengthen the nation from within by advocating social reforms. Justifying his crucial decision to kill an ailing calf in the ashram, he argued, "I felt that humanity demands that agony should be ended by ending life itself." After a calm and clear judgment, to kill or cause pain to a living being from a pure, selfless intent may be the purest form of ahimsa. To cause pain or wish ill to take life of any living being out of anger or selfish intent is himsa. He gave discourses on the New Testament, the Gita and the Ramayana. The central theme of the Gita, according to him, was the renunciation of the fruits of one's action.
The act of spinning was to him a meditation of oneness of life, of the interdependence of capital and labor, man and nature. He wanted a social order which would secure the greatest good of all, Sarvodaya. He wanted a simple society in which economic progress and social justice would go together.
चरखे की घन घनाहट रणभेरियां बजेंगी अंग्रेज को सुना के लेंगे स्वराज लेंगे.
The charkha became a symbol of the movement, which encouraged people to boycott British educational institutions and law courts, resign from government employment, refuse to pay taxes, and give up British titles and honours. Although this came a little late to influence the framing of the new Government of India Act 1919, the movement evoked widespread popular support, presenting a serious challenge to foreign rule.
As national consciousness spread and Indians began to clamour for freedom, the Congress in 1930 called for purn swaraj, total independence. This frightened the votaries of the Raj, and a conference was arranged in London. Gandhi went to England as the sole representative of the Indian National Congress. During the First World War, Gandhiji had helplessly watched as nearly 120,000 young Indian men were killed in a war not of their making, a European war, utterly irrelevant to India. When the Second World War broke out, Gandhiji, Nehru and other national leaders who were against fascism agreed to fight along with the British and the Allied forces. But they insisted that once the war was over, India should be given independence. Independence was to be non-negotiable. Winston Churchill, who once called Gandhiji a naked fakir, refused to countenance this proposition. Gandhi had no choice but to launch the Quit India movement. The nation responded to his call of do or die. Do or die not with violence, but with ahimsa, non-violent, non-cooperation.